The name Solomon means peaceable, but I'm afraid that in the case of Solomon, that might be an ironic title. When Adonijah, his half-brother, was setting himself up for king and getting support from the military leader Joab and some of the priests of the area, Nathan and Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, orchestrated Solomon as king. They manipulate David, who by this time seems to be very easily manipulatable. David, in his last words to Solomon, gives him some advice on how to secure the kingship. His advice is to kill the challengers, kill Joab and kill Shimei, someone that David had forgiven but apparently hadn't forgiven. Solomon did what his father said. He did kill Joab, he did kill Shimei, but he went beyond that. In fact, he killed his half-brother Adonijah, he exiled the priest Abiathar, he secured his kingship with bloodshed. Where David had gone out of his way to not do that, he didn't kill Mephibosheth, he didn't kill Ishbosheth, he didn't kill Jonathan, he didn't kill Saul, he didn't do anything that could have secured his kingship by blood. He let God provide him the kingdom. Solomon, on the other hand, took matters into his own hands. He was not a conqueror, he was an administrator, and he was able to inherit the fortune of the hard work of his father. So he had no real enemies to deal with, and he could focus completely on the administration of the kingdom. One of the things that he did was to secure building projects, lots of building projects, but you need materials for that. So Solomon had arranged a deal with Hiram, the king of Tyre in Phoenicia. He provided him raw materials and builders, but those bills come due. He bought a lot of it on credit, and those bills come due. Solomon actually gave away part of the Holy Land to pay off those bills from all his building projects. Solomon's luxurious lifestyle was a huge financial drain upon the kingdom. So to help combat this, he decided to redistrict the land. We had 12 tribes, each tribe responsible for providing for the king's expenses, for the government's expenses, for 1 month out of the year, 12 months, 12 tribes. That seems fair. And so he decided to redistrict it. Now, maybe this could be a good idea. I mean, maybe a tribe like Benjamin didn't have the resources to provide for an entire month's expenses in the government, so maybe he wanted to make things more equitable. But that wasn't his motivation at all. In fact, when you look at the way in which he's redistricted the land, you find that the tribe of Judah, Solomon's tribe, is not included in any of the administrative districts. In other words, Solomon divided the other 11 tribes up into 12 districts. You could live in Judah tax-free, his own tribe. So the kind of favoritism that everyone feared from David, that David went out of his way to avoid in picking a neutral site for his capital, etc., Solomon just doesn't care about. He flies in the face of that and actually does damage in many ways to the unity of the nation that his father had brought. Solomon used forced labor. In many ways, he looks more like Pharaoh, using forced labor for building projects, than he looks like a king of Judah. He was influenced by his many wives from many nations. Solomon is famous for his wives. I should point out, though, this is not just a statement of sexual virility. Many of these wives likely came as a result of diplomatic arrangements to seal peace treaties, to seal trade agreements. So to say he had this many wives is not simply a statement of sexual prowess. It is a statement of power in a broad sense, of diplomatic power, of military power, of certainly sexual virility is part of that, but it goes beyond that. The kingdom was beginning to disintegrate in Solomon's day. There were challenges to his leadership at that time. And after he dies, the kingdom splits in two. Solomon was evaluated by the Bible very, very harshly. In fact, in Deuteronomy chapter 17, we get the evaluation of what a good king looks like. I should say we get an evaluation of what a bad king looks like. And it is interesting that when the Bible sums up Solomon in 1 Kings chapter 10, it uses the language that Deuteronomy 17 uses for a bad king. Solomon was all about making things go well for Solomon. It is the high point of Israel's political, economic glory, if that's what you're looking for. And he is renowned as a father of wisdom. Now, how can Solomon be considered so wise when I've given you all these examples of things that he did contrary to God's will? And I should say that probably because wisdom is not the end-all, be-all. Some of the things that Solomon did were very, very shrewd and very, very wise and very, very against what God would have him to do. The best example I could think of would be the case of the wives, the way his wives influenced him. Let's say that you're Israel and Moab is a vassal country for you. They're having to send part of their gross national product to you, accept control of your military, accept control of their country, because they are the vassal and you are the suzerain. You get tired of that. And Solomon maybe hears some grumbling. Maybe Moab starts to think about rebelling. So what does Solomon do? Solomon takes some of the government resources and builds a temple to the god of Moab, because of his love for the daughter of Moab, his wife. Well, if you live in Moab, wow, that Solomon really does care about us. Maybe we shouldn't rebel. Maybe we should continue giving. Maybe we should give our money to Israel. So it was a way in which to curry political favor. Pretty shrewd political move. But I think we understand that building temples to foreign gods is not something God would have us to do. So where David is the model for what a good king looks like, Solomon is the model for what a bad king looks like. David was not using the kingship for the king. He was using the kingship for God. Solomon was using the kingship for the king. He was making it good for Solomon. And that obviously cost Israel in the end as the civil war erupts right after.